Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering another Disney Plus animated hit, Raya and the Last Dragon.
Raya. When a dark force returns to the land of Kumandra, lone warrior Raya must find the legendary last dragon Sisu to help her save the world from being engulfed in darkness.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click notification for the updates and future podcasts from all the Paws videos.
Yes, including Raya. And I call it that because it depends on how you pronounce it. Disney says one thing, most people say another, some people say another, so we're covering it all.
Yeah, I was like, say all three.
But before we start, we gotta be honest and just tell you, Awkwafina steals the show in this movie. It was Awkwafina's movie. They should have just done a movie on Awkwafina's dragon because she was the star. She was hilarious and beautiful and wonderful, and this is what she always does. She gets commandeers because she's Awkwafina.
Right? But yes, might as well say she was the best part of the movie. Now, it's not saying that everything else about the movie was awful in comparison. She was just the major highlight of the film.
Definitely.
Now,
Daniel Day Kim was also in here, which really made me happy.
Right.
And they had some other voice actors that we're fully aware of, because he's become, he went from being live action to a voice actor. He's done an amazing job doing voice acting.
Right.
His first one being into Legend of Korra with Mr. Sato.
Yeah.
But he's fantastic now.
Right.
Voice acting.
Now, we definitely need to point out for this that, yes, when the trailer came out, there were a lot of heavy inspirations or just kind of parallels to Avatar: The Last Airbender, to The Legend of Korra, because Raya looks almost exactly like Korra. Before she goes on the quest, she's dressed, even in the teaser, she's dressed exactly like Korra. It's almost close to being plagiarism. I'm surprised no one said anything.
Yeah.
And, it's of course of Avatar, Korra, and of course the Dragon Prince as well. It started taking more inspiration from the anime-inspired television series they've had in the last few years or the last decade. So it looks like it took that and took hold of its own. It started with the designs of the animals, every place of there being a separate faction, and instead of the nations or the tribes, they got different ones. They have different parts of a dragon, I think, and they all protect certain parts of it.
I would say two things I'd like to add to that. One, I think we also should say that they were inspired by Miyazaki, because such detail was put into the backgrounds, which normally doesn't happen with a Disney movie. Not this much detail and intricacies in everything that you saw. And that's truly a Miyazaki trait when you watch his movies.
Right.
And the second thing being that the animation itself was absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
It was vibrant. It was fluid. Just top tier animation.
And the people were moving so realistically, you almost thought this was almost like a new stop motion technology or something, because they didn't move like they were animated half the time.
Definitely. So those are two things that really stood out about this film visually. Just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Even when you saw the commercials, even when you see the posters and you would see the pictures, it stood out no matter what medium you were looking at. Looking at these shots in the beautiful, absolutely beautiful animation.
Right. And another part also stands out is that there were actually no song numbers in here.
Yeah.
We were surprised. We thought it was going to be a little bit like Moana, where they have a few numbers here and there when they had Sisu introduce herself or something. But no, there actually were no songs, which is rare for Disney to do, because majority of the things they make have to have song numbers or musicals or have to have something in it. But yeah, this is one of the few rare times where there was no singing. So the whole movie played out as one adventure story, and that's it. So that was a little bit to take in, because we're so used to Disney throwing in all their singers every 5 minutes.
So the movie starts out like most Disney movies do. You have this happy event. The dad's getting along with the daughter. The mom's missing. They never tell you why. And then something happens that ends up turning into a catastrophe.
Yes.
Very catastrophic. And then
Raya
and some others have to go about in resolving the conflict so that things can go back to normal, or so that they can move forward with a new sense of purpose and a new lease on life. It's the standard Disney format,
basically. And along the way, of course, meeting people that will eventually join her little crew. And it eventually builds up into a message, which we're getting to in a minute, about the theme of the movie, which some people have debated about. And of course, she meets Sisu, and we thought, oh, this movie's gonna be short. I thought Raya and the Last Dragon was about finding the dragon, but she finds it in 10 minutes of the movie. So it's like, okay, I guess we're already done with the title. But it turns out that the legend they had made around her wasn't totally true. Is that, yeah, she held the last piece they needed. She was indeed the last dragon, but she wasn't the one that saved everybody. It's just like, that one kid who doesn't pitch as much as others, but still gets so much credit because the whole class was in. It was sort of like that for her. And her brothers and sisters actually helped to save it.
Sisu.
Right, Sisu, that's her name. Her brothers and sisters actually helped to save the land because every dragon except her was turned into stone.
Right.
And she was the last one there, so it was going to be up to her to bring them all back when the time came. And it sounded like a whole nother movie in itself, hearing her backstory.
Right now, with that reminds you of Gargoyles also.
Yes.
The animated series.
Yes. And with hearing her backstory, it almost sounded like another movie in itself. I mean, you got one movie, but it almost sounded like it was the Dragons movie for a while. If you didn't have Raya in it, you would have thought it was her movie because of how deep the backstory was, and it affected the rest of the characters in the film because it was still going.
That would be a brilliant idea if Disney even did not a short, but maybe a 30-minute movie that focuses specifically on Sisu, and don't get some voice actor
sound alike.
Nothing's wrong with them, but I would rather hear Awkwafina do this. I think that would be great, just having a 30-minute movie on the backstory. That would be brilliant.
Right. And as the film goes on, they have to go to these different parts where the piece they need is different pieces of an orb they need. And the orb, when they unleash the power, it'll stop the darkness and unpetrify everybody before it turns to Dr. Stone again.
I was going to say the same.
Right. So they have to go to these...
Without the power of science.
Right, just the power of friendship. So in here they have to go to these different parts of the land that are like dragons, are all named after parts of the dragon. They each have a piece of it so it can be protected. So they have to go to each one and get it, and then put it back together and save the world, of course. And each place they meet a person that's kind of left untouched by the darkness, and they're pretty much by themselves. And the whole theme of the movie is that everyone is divided amongst themselves.
And I want to interject real quickly before you continue. We want to mention that one of the first people she meets is a girl around her own age, and she betrays her immediately.
Yes!
Which really makes a heavy impact on her during the rest of this movie.
Right, that's correct. Thanks for bringing that up. And with each one, you gotta mention that she's chasing her throughout the whole time. You find out why as you watch the movie. Is it in a villainous way, or is it to help, or what? You'll find out as it goes on. And there's at least one person in just about each tribe they're at where it hasn't been turned to stone, or they've been separated because of all the darkness that's come about. So each of them end up joining her in the quest to save everybody. And they point out in the beginning of the movies that no one trusts each other. They all have their own lands because they used to be one, and there were so many disagreements and things that they were divided. And a lot of people pointed out they were liking the fact that every culture was representing something in Southeast Asia or Pacific Islander, so everybody got represented with their own part of the movie.
Fantastic.
And with that, they put up this theme of you have to learn to trust. And there is a lot of people debate on that lesson. Now, there's not saying that trust is bad, but there's a sort of a mixed message as the movie goes on. The thing we're building up to is that, hey, they don't trust each other, but when the time came and it was really dire, all these people forgot about being different parts of the world or the country, and these little individuals came together and trusted each other to save the world. But there was a sort of mixed message on it. And you have to learn to trust. You have to learn to open up and trust others. But there's one problem with that. Nothing's wrong with trust, but the first thing they do in the movie is that Raya trusts the girl, and shows her the artifact they have in theirs, and she betrays her immediately and causes the darkness to come out. So you kind of don't blame her for having the trust issues. So it's not that they're backwards and can't trust. Look look what happened when she openly trusted somebody for the first time.
And I think the worst part of that is that the betrayer's mom, I don't even remember her name because, she betrayed her. The betrayer's mom knew exactly what the girl was going to do, and they had put her up to it so that she could get the artifact.
Right.
So it wasn't just the girl going off on her own, half-cocked, being a rebel. The mom, I don't remember if there was a dad too.
No, there was just the mom.
The mom, so the dad's missing, no explanation.
Yeah, we're
pure
getting
Disney.
Some type of theme here.
Puts her up to, gets her to do it, and she does it willingly. And it's like, it's one thing if a young person in a movie does it and they learn a lesson, but the mom knew freaking better.
Yes!
And she had her do it so they could get it and be in control.
Yes, and that was a pretty dark part of it. Their part was sort of a little bit like Wakanda, but for them, they purposely wanted to be released, and they didn't want anyone to get help. They wanted to be on their own, where they think no one will be invading them or trying to trespass or anything. They wanted to be by themselves on the planet and just stay completely in the dark. And it was sort of like a really odd thing for them to bring up. So with that, they're kind of debating like, well, when does the trust come in? You trust somebody, they backstab, but then when she didn't trust somebody, they were turned out to be telling the truth. So it brings up a really mixed message of the movie. When is the right time to trust?
And which really affected, I think, the reception of the movie. People were really excited about it and wanted to see it, and it delivered on many levels, but it left a lot to be desired, and I think that's why we don't even hear anyone talking about it, putting posts about it on Twitter or anything anymore.
Yeah, and besides that, there's also, it's just, but with that, even with that, still the movie was very enjoyable despite that little hiccup in there, confusing hiccup. It's still a great movie.
Definitely.
And one more thing I would bring up for the dragon is the funniest part was when she says how to infiltrate. She basically has this thing where it's gonna be like My Little Pony, where she offers the girl a gift and they're all gonna become friends after it. And they're like, we're not doing that.
Sisu is adorable.
Yes.
So if you've seen Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney Plus, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you haven't, it's still there. There's no access premium to pay.
Yeah.
So you can see it and enjoy it, and then let us know what you think in the comments as well.
Yes.
Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you expecting something different? Were you impressed by the animation as we were? Just let us know.
Right. And be sure to like, subscribe, and click notifications with updates and future podcasts and more Paws videos.
Absolutely.
So thank you to our Possum family for watching.
Yes, and to Sean for actually, constantly saying you're gonna watch it, right? You're gonna watch it, right? You're gonna watch it. I can't wait for the podcast. You're gonna watch it,
right?
So, here we are. We watched it, and here's your podcast.
Right. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Mask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace. Love you guys.